doozy. Razzberries to a trucker who took a common social media rage post and took it to the next level. So a truck driver was recently stabbed at the Love's truck stop in Troutdale, Oregon. So when police arrived, the victim said the suspect was upset about how long he was taking at the gas station. So a verbal argument ensued. And a stabbing happened. So, yeah, that's basically what happened. This guy took too long at the fuel island. Guy got mad, stabbed the dude.
And welcome back to another edition of Roses and Razzberries. The usual crew here, Ryan Witkowski, Tyson Fisher, I'm SJ Munoz. As we like to do at the top every time, we just remind you, rose, raspberry, or maybe a combination of the two, go ahead and send those to roses@landlinemag.com. And I think I'm obligated to say this. Can you guys believe it's December already?
I can, actually. I didn't know what we were going to do. We did Halloween candy in October. Are we going to do, like, best stocking stuffers?
Hey, I mean, go for it.
Scratchers tickets got to be up there.
Scratcher tickets, yeah.
And I don't know why, but those big fat peppermint sticks, you know, the ones that are like the soft one, I like those too.
I've got nothing to add. those are the two essentials.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with the scratchers.
And a chocolate orange. Those are good,
I thought you maybe throwing like the little airplane bottles maybe that you can, for just your family get-togethers. But let's go ahead and get started, and we'll go with the roses here to get us going, Tyson.
Yeah, so roses to a trucking company owner who helped out a fellow trucker in a pretty big way. So what happened was, this starts off as a raspberry, actually. So recently, Kerry Jordan, he poured like all of his family's savings into buying a new truck in order to make money as an owner-operator. Well, what happened was, soon after, that truck was stolen. Like, he just bought this brand new truck, as we all know, it's like, $150,000. Someone just comes and steals his truck. And so this made the local news round. So this happened in Houston. It made a local news rounds, and it got some attention on social media. And so what happened was Peter Montes, he's the owner of PM Fleets. He saw this, and so he decided to give Jordan pretty much the biggest Christmas present of his life, which is a new truck.
Better than a stocking stuffer, you would say. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A little bit better than a scratcher ticket, But yeah, so what happened was, this trucking company owner, he got a hold of this driver and told him basically he can just swing by and just choose out a truck for free. Like, as far as I understand, from what I understand, there's no catch to this. This guy just saw this unfortunate incident. Wow. It's like, I'm going to give this guy a truck because this sucks. And so, as a matter of fact, a local news source interviewed Montes, and his quote was, "Evil will not win." That was his whole thing. It's like, he saw this, like, I'm not going to let this happen to this guy. And really stepped up to the plate. So, by the way, again, like I said, this happened in Houston. So police are still looking for whoever stole his truck. So if you know anything about it, of course, reach out to law enforcement. But that's a $150,000 gift this guy just got.
That is incredible to do for a complete stranger, too.
Right? Yeah.
Well, we were kind of skeptical of it, and I'm sure when you came across the story, and I can imagine when he got that phone call saying, just come by and get pick a truck you want. Like, he's probably like, bro, who's this?
Okay.
Exactly. Like that. Yeah. There's got to be some kind of, one of his buddies or something messing with him. But fortunately, it wasn't. We'll go ahead and get in the raspberries here, Ryan. You got I guess one word will kind of sum it up here. All we got to say is tolls, right?
I have been waiting for this for like a year and a half now, too, by the way, which makes me seem like a real nerd. But raspberries to the U.S. Court of Appeals for issuing a ruling in the Rhode Island tolls case. Recently, they issued the ruling, I believe it was Friday of last week, but September of 2023 is when oral arguments were heard in this case. They were appealing the constitutional right to be able to toll trucks only over the thruway to basically make up for not having funds to rebuild their bridges. So, long story short, this was stricken down by a district court. They said it was unconstitutional, violated the Commerce Clause, and it was disproportionately beneficial to in-state truckers. It was stricken down. They had to stop collecting those tolls, and they haven't been able to collect those tolls for nearly 2 years. Shortly after that, though, they filed an appeal. Appeals were heard about a year ago, and then this verdict finally came in. So again, I've been waiting patiently, clicking on that link every day to see if they'd issued a ruling. Finally, they did. And it came back that they can resume those tolls. The court decided that it was not unconstitutional for them to have that in place, but they couldn't have the daily caps. Those benefited in-state truckers too much, so they had to get rid of those. Now they're debating about whether or not they're going to bring it back, how it looks when they bring it back, and how that will affect in-state truckers. When you think about the folks who are getting taxed on this, though, it's truck drivers specifically who are footing the bill to pay for these 12 different bridges. Court documents showed 97% of the vehicles traveling on the thruway were not being tolled for those bridges. And of the vehicles that were being tolled at those 12 different gantries across the state, 19% of those vehicles were registered in state. So I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to go, boy, this is really disproportionately affecting truck drivers and more so disproportionately affecting out-of-state truckers. But I'm not on the U.S. Court of Appeals. I'm not a judge. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. But
now we do.
But I had nothing to do with this ruling. So raspberries to them for allowing Rhode Island to resume that program. And I am curious, too, what kind of precedent that sets for other states moving forward who want to make truckers foot the bill on any of their toll roads.
Yeah, it's a similar thing happening in New York City with congestion pricing. The state's own study found that commercial vehicles make up of 4% of traffic in that congestion zone, yet truckers have to pay twice what everyone else does. So again, disproportionate compared to what they're contributing to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah, when you put those numbers
Right.
on it, common sense will tell you that's kind of ludicrous. But then when you put the 90-some percent is really wild. But we got more raspberries to get to here, Tyson, huh?
Yeah, this is a doozy. Raspberries to a trucker who took a common social media rage post and took it to the next level. So a truck driver was recently stabbed at the Love's truck stop in Troutdale, Oregon. So when police arrived, the victim said the suspect was upset about how long he was taking at the gas station. So a verbal argument ensued. And a stabbing happened. So, that's basically what happened. This guy took too long at the fuel island. Guy got mad, stabbed the dude. So he's being charged with second-degree assault, attempted assault, unlawful use of a weapon, reckless endangerment. So in the previous edition of Roses and Razzberries, I mentioned how a certain trucker Facebook groups or dumpster fires. They can be bad. There's at least one where at least once a day someone posts a picture of a driver on the fuel island with that person, and the person who's posting, complaining about how long they're at that fuel island. I see this every day, multiple times a day. It is a very common, if not the most common post on this truck river page. So to me, this stabbing isn't all that surprising because when I see this all the time on social media, it's going to be a matter of time.
Eventually, it's going to go to that next level.
Someone just flips, that's what happens. So, but I used to think that whining on the internet was just like it's a little too much. Just and people say it's mind your business, quit posting pictures of people, whatever. But if raging on social media prevents you from stabbing people, then rage away. I guess that's a good outlet to
let a little bit of that steam out, huh?
This fuel island just hanging out the diesel lane.
This is why I've limited my Facebook trucker groups to those who post about cooking in their semi.
Oh, see, that's
which
more
is god awful looking, by the way. It's the most terrible steaks I've seen on the planet. But hey, more power to you.
That's healthy, not just physically, but mentally. That's a healthier option.
Yeah, let's go ahead and use the knife to cut the meat instead of and stab other people. How about we do that? This is you have another very outlandish kind of story here, right?
Yeah,
Ryan?
he probably doesn't deserve them, but I'm going to go ahead and give some roses to this guy for being safe. Jose Rosa Rivera. Oh, hey, roses right there. He's a trucker from New Jersey. He recently led police on a 75-mile chase down I-80 in western Iowa. Troopers actually began looking for his vehicle after they got reports of a semi dragging a chain, creating sparks down the highway. The driver, when the police tried to stop him, completely refused to stop. The criminal complaint says that when the trooper pulled alongside the vehicle, Rosa Rivera made eye contact with the trooper before looking ahead at the road. Safe to say he knew he was probably getting pulled over. So the police said the driver had, quote, bloodshot, watery eyes, visible body tremors, an elevated pulse while laying in a hospital bed, constricted pupils, and sporadic abdominal convulsing and heavy breathing. Police also said the driver repeatedly stated, "Jesus Christ is coming," to law enforcement and medical personnel. Naturally, they tested him for drugs because that's what happens when you say and do those sorts of things.
Right.
Obviously, none of that should be celebrated, okay? Like, I want to get that out there right now. Disclaimer, don't try this at home, kids. Here's the kicker. Police said he was actually being pretty safe over the 75 miles.
Good for him.
This is from Sergeant Alex Dinkla of the Iowa State Patrol. Quote, "This driver actually was driving with a due regard for the safety of others. He was taking measures to be safe as he was driving, even though he was not stopping for law enforcement." I mean, I'm letting you know, I'm pretty sure this guy was high on something, and he wasn't stopping for police. He couldn't care less about that, but all of that training really started kicking in when he needed to be. He was safe, so I guess roses to that? I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, raspberries to everything else, but roses to CDL training, really kicking in and carrying him through those 75 miles.
Well, we're going to get a little bit specific here with the next rose. This is another, not quite to that extent, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, tough follow. So roses to a lawmaker trying to encourage truck drivers to fight human trafficking. So Arkansas State Representative Steve Unger, he recently introduced a bill that will offer truck drivers a free lifetime hunting and fishing license for combating human trafficking. So House Bill 1059 will give that lifetime hunting and fishing license with an optional lifetime trout and duck stamp, by the way. That can be offered to any truck driver who lives in Arkansas and provides information to law enforcement that either rescues a victim of human trafficking or leads to the conviction of someone involved in human trafficking. So this is worth about $1,000 for a lifetime hunting license, by the way. So this is a $1,000 reward, and you get to hunt all the time. So the crime, by the way, does not have to take place in Arkansas. So if you're an interstate truck driver and you see something happen in Florida or whatever, this still applies. They're still good. Yeah, very interesting, narrow in scope.
I'm puzzled by this.
Very narrow in scope, this legislation. But hey, whatever it takes to combat human trafficking, which, by the way, truck stops are a very popular place for human trafficking and prostitution and whatnot. And this guy knows this because he has spent time with the National Child Protection Task Force. So he understands that truck drivers are pretty much at the front lines when it comes to combating human trafficking. As a matter of fact, Truckers Against Trafficking formed in 2009. So yeah, big deal. Very novel way of encouraging this, but hey.
I certainly get it because of the Truckers for Trafficking aspect. We've had that conversation plenty of times, how they're in a unique position to be able to witness some of these things and see some of the early warning signs and maybe stop some of these crimes before they happen. This seems like the most narrow-focused piece of legislation I've ever heard of. And also, was there an issue with these folks not reporting this before? Like, they're going, oh, well, now that I know there's an optional trout and duck stamp for life on here, maybe I should report this crime?
Got to sweeten the pot, man.
I guess, man. I guess there's going to be people going around the country now trying to get an Arkansas hunting license.
Yeah, we definitely want it. I mean, it's a good cause to, but I guess it's, outside the box. Maybe he knows his constituents obviously better than we do. So we'll see where this ends up. We are at about a time, but we got to sneak this one in. This is another one of those that it seems it pops up very often, but it's, I wish we had that kind of luck, right?
I see these like once a month. Speaking of scratchers tickets, right? The perfect stocking stuffer. Roses to a trucker for his work ethic. David Smuts, a 71-year-old trucker from Iowa, is $500,000 richer after hitting it big on a scratcher ticket. He said he was on his way to a birthday party with his wife when he scratched the winning ticket. Has no plans to retire. 71 years old, has no plans to retire because, quote, still enjoys working. I don't know, you 71, you should already be retired, but more power to you. Great work ethic on that guy. I don't know, maybe work less, David, just a little bit less.
Hey, man, he might change his mind once that first, direct deposit hits.
He does say he plans to buy a new car and travel with his wife, so apparently that's still a sense of enjoyment for him being around her.
All right, again, just one reminder, if you do have a rose or raspberry, send those to roses@landlinemag.com. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Roses and Razzberries. For Tyson Fisher and Ryan Witkowski, I'm S.J. Munoz. Landline Now will be back after this commercial break.